Let's quickly solve for this video. We are given this trigonometric equation that we need to solve for x being between 0 and 360. So the very first thing to do here, we need to rearrange this equation so that this term comes this side and then we equate it to 0. Then we can now write 7 cosine x plus 5 and then minus. This side is positive, when it comes this side it becomes minus 2 sine square x equals to 0. Sorry. Now from here, what we now need to do is that we have to rewrite this function in terms of cosine. Now we know the trig identity. So what we have is sine square x. So we can move this term to the other side. Then we are going to have sine square x is equal to 1 minus cosine square x. So what is equal to sine square x is what you are going to write in the place of sine square x. Then you are going to have 7 cosine x plus 5 minus 2. In the place of sine square x, we write that, which is 1 minus cosine square x equal to 0. Then from here, we have to expand that bracket. Then we're going to have cosine x plus 5 minus 2 and then plus negative and negative plus 2 cosine square x equals to 0. So here we can rearrange this so that the term with the x square, with a square, sorry for that, the term with a square comes first. Then we are going to have 2 cosine square x plus 7 cosine x plus 5 minus 2 is positive 3 equals to 0. Alright, now this is a perfect square trinomial. This is a quadratic equation, therefore we can now solve by factorization. Now what we can do here is that we take this number here and that number, 2 times positive 3, we are getting positive 6, and then we list the factors of that number, and then we have to choose 2 factors that we can multiply. When we multiply those ones, we should get positive 6, this positive 6. But when we add those 2 factors, we should get positive 7, this positive 7 here. So those 2 numbers are 1 and 6. So we now come back. Here we write 2 cosine square x plus, instead of writing 7 cosine x, we now replace by 6 cosine x and cosine x plus 3 equals to 0. If you want, you can put 1 there, but it's not necessary. Now here, what you can see here is that we have 4 terms there, therefore we can factorize by grouping. So the common factor here is 2 cosine x, and then we are left with cosine x plus 3. When you divide 6 by 2, you get 3. So the cosine and the cosine will cancel, and then we have here, what we have in this bracket is the same as what we have there. So we just write that bracket the way it is without changing anything. So in front here we can write 1, so we know what we are doing. Now here we are going to take these numbers or these functions in front of the brackets, and then here we have 2 cosine x plus 1, and also here we have cosine x plus 3 equals to 0. So it means either this bracket is equal to 0 or that is equal to 0. Then we have 2 cosine x plus 1 equals to 0, or cosine x plus 3 equals to 0. Then here we have 2 cosine x equals to minus 1, while here we have cosine x equals to minus 3. Now here there is no solution. There is no solution. You can try to do that on a calculator. It will give you math error. While here we can write this as cosine x equals to, you divide through by 2. Then here we have minus 1 over 2. Now solving for x, here we have inverse of cosine. Now here I think I need to spend some time so I can explain what's going on here. Remembering the case diagram. Here we have negative half. But when you are getting the value of x, we should not write the half here. Not the half, but the negative. The reason for that is that the negative is telling us, where do we have cosine is negative on the case diagram? Our cosine is negative in the second quadrant and in the third quadrant. It means in those two quadrants, that's where we should get our answers. Therefore, our x here is equal to, if you do that on a calculator, you should get 60. Now what you can see that 60 is in the first quadrant, but our answer should be in the second and the third. So to get our answer in the second quadrant, what we are going to do here, we know that we should take 180 minus the angle. So we are going to write x equals to 180 minus 60 to give us 120. So that is the first answer. Or the second answer, we should get it in the third quadrant. That is where cosine is negative. Keep in mind, cosine is positive here, cosine is positive there. So our answer should be where cosine is negative. So it's also negative here. To get our answer here, it's 180 plus theta. So we're going to have 180. Our theta is this angle here, 16. Therefore, our x is equal to 240. So the solutions here, we have that, and then we have that, and indeed these two solutions are between 316 and 0. So these two are the solutions. And for more videos, please do subscribe to the channel.